Well, hello. It's 7 o'clock in the evening. I made a video this morning and put that up for yesterday's video, but this one will be the one for June the 1st. And I've titled it Reflections on My Trip. Yes, I know I told a lot about what was happening when I was in the land down under in previous videos. Now, after getting a bit more rest and unpacking my bags, etc., I want to share some things that I hope will put things in perspective regarding the mass mind control programming and how it affects our lives. Indeed, it was a very interesting trip, and some of the best things on the trip did not happen until the very end of the trip. The last couple of days that I was in Australia were very significant days. In one case, I got to meet Judith Durham's sister, um, Beverly Sheehan, and I haven't had a chance to listen to this yet because my computer can't accommodate this size of a CD or DVD, whatever. It only does the small ones. So I will get a chance to listen to that, but today's been a busy day of unpacking things and going to give a birthday card to my granddaughter who had a birthday in May, and I was gone, and I didn't get a chance to give her card and a gift. So there's been a lot on my plate today, and I still have things that are not finished being done yet. But I've made a good headway in getting things moving in a good direction. But on the last day of my trip, I got to meet a lady named Erica, and she lives north of Melbourne, and she came down. She was working, but she actually took some time off from work and came and bought me a lunch and then gave me a little bit of a tour of the area where I could see how they're taking all of the farmland around Melbourne, Australia, and turning it into suburbs. Now, they've tried to do that in her particular suburb, but they put a 99-year lease agreement in where they can't subdivide their 5-acre plots. That they are left intact for at least 99 years. So that'll take them into the next generation and maybe the next couple of generations, I assume. Uh, but they've kept the encroachment of Melbourne. It just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. That's why it's at 4.4 million people live in Melbourne, Australia, and it will become. I mean, I don't know if Sydney's growing like that, but I suspect if Sydney's not, Melbourne will overtake it and become the largest city. But it's really a bunch of small towns just hooked together, is what it is. They're just one after the other. It's sort of like southern Florida, like northern New Jersey for that matter. Just one town into the next town into the next town, with no breaks or nothing in between, no wilderness area. Uh, but I wanted to say something about the mass mind control because she told me a story, and I'm talking now about Erica. She told me a story of how she was in a terrible accident when she was 7 years old. And she showed me the scar that was left as a result of that accident. And they didn't give her a chance of walking. It seems to me I might have said this in a previous video, the last one. I'm not sure if I did or not, but it's coming to me like you already told them that. But in any case, I'm retelling it because it's important about the mind control programming. She's 7 years old when this happens. Now in their minds, she's got a severed spinal cord or something. I mean, she's not ever going to walk again. That's the medical prognosis. But it's a 7-year-old kid that hasn't been programmed with all the mind control BS. And so to her, this is just a temporary setback, and she got better and was well, and she healed. Beautiful story. Beautiful story. The last day that I'm there, that's the story that I heard firsthand from the lady who experienced it. So when you hear me talk about mind control, This is something that's real, that has been done to us as human beings. And we are programmed. Why do we resist so much when people like me come and try to tell you that there's a better way? When you're stuck in the old way, in the old paradigm of control by corporations where everything is legal fiction? Well, that's part of it. And of course, um, uh, I also got to a generous gift from another lady named Anna. That's all I'm going to give a name. And she wants me to come back to Australia, and maybe in the future, uh, I'll pick a spring season going into a warmer spell rather than a colder one. But we'll see what happens. We'll see what is able to be generated there. But the end of my trip was in the exact opposite direction as the beginning of my trip. The beginning of my trip was okay too, till I lost my hostess, and lost all of the things that I thought were going to make it an enjoyable trip. I never got to see a kangaroo. I think I might have said that in the previous video too. Uh, but I never got to see anything but maybe some native birds that sound differently than birds here in North America that I'm used to. Uh, so there's many things that are there in Australia that are unique to the Australian continent, and it's fascinating enough to me that I hope that my life and the way things unfold in the future will allow me to go back and visit and actually see more than I was able to see this time because of circumstances. But overall, looking back now, I think it was a worthwhile trip. It was a good trip because people at the end made it worthwhile. And of course, Peter Van Runt and his family were treated me with utmost kindness and respect. And I so appreciate the people at Unity of Melbourne in Australia, how well and wonderful they treated me. And I was able to get rides with some of them. And by the way, I shop at Aldi's here in Florida, and they have Aldi's there. And this time I actually got some Aldi's bags, which I don't ever buy here. I had my own bags, but now I have some Aldi bags too. Because of my trip there, I don't bring my own bags to Australia, so I had to purchase them. But in any case, the trip for me, in retrospect, was a good trip. Even though it didn't go as I thought it was going to go, I think that there were some changes that happened internally, inside of me, that you'll see some of the fruit of that in the future. Uh, it has shifted some of my perspective, which was one of the intents that I had of going there, to help shift my perspective and to get myself lifted up a little bit. Because this year has been a struggle, losing my home, and last year, of course, with all the health challenges that I had, it's been a real struggle. And I appreciate the folks that have understood that and not fought me because I was, quote, being negative. Negative isn't the problem. The problem is perspective. If you have a negative perspective and you think that everything is going to be miserable, well, I agree. That's not a good state of mind to be in, and I don't want to be in that state of mind. I'm doing the best that I can to lift myself out of that and get back to to spreading good news and giving possibilities of where we might be able to go and what we might be able to co-create together as humanity, as we change and shift the consciousness of the entire world. It's going to happen by a small group of people doing the inner work and the outer work together, so that we can create the world that our kids are going to be able to enjoy a whole lot more than what we've had. Anyway, that's all I'm going to say, and thank you again for listening, and namaste.